So, Jacques, have you seen the new Batman and Harley Quinn movie?
Well, let me think, Joe. It's not going to be released digitally or available on DVD or Blu-ray just yet. But yes, there was a one-night-only screening that the management and the two Dream Squashers and I went to see the other night.
Great, because I am in sore need of some Batsplaining.
It was a lot of fun. Hello, everybody. This is Jacques.
I'm Joe.
And this is Sideshow. And I think Joe's already named the episode of Batsplaining.
Yeah, I'm a total dunce when it comes to Batman. I mean, I like the Batman movies. I'm like a fair weather Batman fan. I mean, I grew up in the 90s, so you would think I would have, had my eyeballs glued to the Batman the Animated Series on Fox, which was a fantastic, phenomenal telling of the Batman lore.
Completely changed, like, the animation superhero world. Completely changed it.
I couldn't give two shits. So, unfortunately, I was watching, like, Super Mario Brothers Super Show or something else, like, totally unrelated. But luckily, to fill in the cracks, Jacques is here to do some Batsplaining to me because based on his new review of the new Batman and Harley Quinn movie, he's going to kind of take us through the whole lineage of the Batman animated lore, probably focusing more on the animated movies versus the animated series, or maybe kind of meshing the two together.
Well, Well, like DC did a big relaunch of their animated series a little over 3 years ago. They also did a reboot of the comics and all that stuff. It started with Justice League War, and it was great. It kind of reintroduces everybody. It's the first time they bring Cyborg, who is a critical member of Teen Titans, and they make him a member of Justice League. So much like Marvel will re-release or release a new Iron Man cartoon or something like that to the younger kids, a year or so before bringing the new live action and stuff like that to it's like passing out drugs at the playground, Joe, like you've always said.
Yes.
Just pass it out. The first round is free, and then you see who comes back, and then boom.
And that's how we got our listeners to the Carnival Personnel Podcast and Sideshow.
Joe's never said that. And anyways, but seriously, so Batman War came out, and as much as we've talked, it's like DC has really been ahead of the curve and kicking Marvel's ass in the TV side of things and on the animated movie side of things. And Marvel's playing catch up with all their Netflix Marvel shows, where Marvel is 8 years ahead of DC.
They're like, is there a higher standard than gold, a platinum standard?
Right. I mean, the way they assembled the Avengers over a 6-7 year period of time, over like 5 or 6 major movies before they did the team up, and now that's what DC's doing. On the other side, DC has been ahead of the curve as far as that goes in the animated world, and so they've gone all in on the reboot of these characters in the DCU universe. Animated.
So let me just, I guess, reel it back for somebody who is very new to the Batman animated game. So the Batman animated series premiered. I had to go Batman animated series because that's kind of all I know.
We don't want to start Super Friends?
No, Super Friends. Fuck. Meanwhile, back at the
Hall of Justice.
Hall of Justice.
Oh,
my Ted Knight is terrible.
Do it again.
Meanwhile, back at the Hall of Justice.
Gold.
Yeah. Anyway. So Batman the Animated Series, I think, premiered in 93.
Early 90s.
93. It was like around the Animaniacs kind of times when Fox's animation department was like kicking
ass. Really kicking ass.
In the afternoons. So then that series lasted several years. Probably, I don't know, 5 years?
No, it seems like that. Only lasted, I believe, like two to 3 seasons. But it was revolutionary. And so, because there's nothing we like to do on Carnival Personnel or Sideshow other than hype other podcasts, I cannot recommend Batman the Animated Podcast anymore. And when I got into that podcast, I'm like, it's just dedicated to the show. That's 25 years old.
Right.
But they get all the actors. They get all the voice actors. They get the writers and stuff. And it's fantastic. And when you go back and you revisit it, or if you haven't seen it, it's dark. It is really, really dark.
And to think that they showed it 3 in the afternoon.
3:30 in the afternoon. And the great thing is that was it. Harley Quinn was never in the comic books. She was created specifically by one writer who thought, oh, the Joker needs kind of a sidekick.
And who did the voice of Harley Quinn?
That would be Arlene Sorkin.
And she had a funny story.
Well, the writer, it's really funny. The writer was at Emerson College one day, saw her. I'm not great with this. I think she was on The Brave and the Bold, The Brave and the Beautiful.
The Bold and the Beautiful.
Bold and Beautiful, thank you. She was basically a court jester. She was, a court constable, like, Bull from Night Court, so to speak. But she was comic relief. And years later, he's doing Batman the Animated Series, kind of wanted somebody kooky, somebody like, funny, and based the character on Arlene Sorkin's character from the soap opera, and sort of on a whim reached out to her, and she did it.
Yeah.
And for the next 25 years, be it all the different incarnations of Batman TV shows, Batman movies, Justice League movies with Harley Quinn, and all the video games, up until this last one, she was the voice. She was Harley Quinn.
Yeah, and I mean now it's like Tara Strong, and I think there's in the new Harley Quinn voices. What's her name? Melissa Rauch,
the girl, the actress from
Big Bang
Theory.
The high-pitched girl voice.
But yeah, about 3 years ago, DC relaunched their universe, and it's what I love. It's dark. Like Marvel is funnier. They have dark moments, but their moments of levity are kind of over the top and great. I love that. But what I like about Batman is he's dark. And in the first relaunch of this in Justice League War, he's a dick, and Green Lantern absolutely hates him for being a dick. But then over like the last few years, they've had this continuing, storyline, the thread through the different movies.
Well, let me just to reel it back even further.
Yeah, please.
So, animated series wraps in the mid-90s. Was there sort of I don't know how well-versed you are in the animated movies, how far back you go, how OG you are. I'm pretty sure you're the O-est of Gs. But what's the time span between animated series and first animated movie, like direct to, I don't even know, like back in those days, I guess they did direct to DVD or direct to video release, or if they were TV movies, or if they were like limited releases in theaters. How was what is the first animated?
Well, it was a few years after, Batman the Animated Series that they relaunched it, and they had no, not Brave and the Bold. Damn it.
The Batman?
The Batman. And that lasted...
You're supposed to be Batsplaining to me.
But that lasted 5 seasons, and that was great. But completely different theme. Not nearly as dark as Batman the Animated Series. And then it was, a decade after that they came out with Batman Brave and the Bold. And that was completely...
farcical.
It was made for 5, 6, 7-year-olds. It also was a way to introduce complete like C-list characters, like in the Lego Batman movie,
Calendar Man and the Condiment Man.
Right. When in the Lego Batman movie, when Joker lists off like his complete rogue gallery, and you're like, and the pilot's like, yeah, you're making that up.
Right, and he goes, it's worth a Google.
A lot of those characters you saw, on Brave and the Bold. But in between that was Batman Beyond, which is a reimagined. Batman is now 80 years old, and unbeknownst to him, kind of, he had a son that was not. I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. It wasn't cloned from his DNA, but stolen from his DNA. They had DNA of Bruce Wayne. Amanda Waller knew about this, so and in between that, you also had the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited series that was more darker than Brave and the Bold, but that's not saying much. But with this new continuum, they started with. In 2014, they've reimagined a lot of things. But yeah, going back, I think it was 2007 is when they relaunched like the kind of the animated movies. But they completely in 2014 kind of pumped the brakes on where they were. And they had some great movies. I highly recommend. New Frontier was great. There was Doomsday that was really, really, really good. The Wonder Woman one was Public Enemy is probably one of my favorite Batman Superman team ups. That was a really great animated series. But the granddaddy of all for me was, and it's not my favorite Batman animated thing. It's not my favorite DC animated thing. It's probably my top 10 favorite movies is Under the Red Hood, which was animated, and it was dark, and it was a big WTF kind of thing. It's years old, so it's the Jason Todd story.
So you say the Jason Todd story, but is that based on are all of these movies based on the comics or a comic series?
All of the, a lot of the Batman ones, had come years before from the comics. Yeah. And so Jason Todd was killed off in
who is Jason Todd? I'm dumb.
Okay, so I'll do a little Batsplaining.
Thank you.
You got some splaining to do.
Brucey? Get it, Brucey?
Brucey, no, I'm with you. But we all know that the first Robin was Dick Grayson, part of the Flying Graysons, orphaned when mobsters were shaken down, like, the carnival that his parents worked for, and his parents died. So he became a ward, never adopted.
So he was carnival personnel.
He was carnival personnel. Thank you. He was Bruce Wayne's trusted ward, but never adopted. But then Dick Grayson went off to become my favorite superhero. My favorite superhero is not Batman.
Calendar Man. Oh.
He's a foe. He's a rogue.
Sorry.
No, it's Plastic Man. But seriously, Nightwing is my favorite superhero. Batman is a close second.
How much is he your favorite? To what depths into your own personal life has Nightwing influenced?
Oh, yeah. My son's named after Nightwing. Okay, thank you. My son's named after Nightwing. But first, I had a dog 10 years before I had a son that was named after Nightwing. So I'm not sure if I love that dog so much I named my son after the dog that I named after Nightwing. But anyways, he is in there. So the second Robin came along, and it was it was Jason Todd, who, it was one of those things. Whoever comes after Tom Brady is not going to be Tom Brady, and he could win 4 Super Bowls, but he's never going to be Tom Brady, and that's the problem. That Jason Todd had.
He's like Bill Murray. You can't beat Bill Murray. You can only tie him.
And so the fans never, seriously, at that point, we're talking. Dick Grayson had been in the comics and movies 55, 60 years at this point.
Yep.
So Jason Todd never really got a fair shake. He was killed off in the comics. A few years later, my favorite Robin, now Nightwing is my favorite superhero, but Dick Grayson is not my favorite Robin. Tim Drake is my favorite Robin. He came along and things are going well, let's just say. But out of nowhere comes this criminal who seems to know Batman almost better than Batman knows Batman. He's a vigilante who is killing people, but he's a killer with a heart. He's sort of like a Dexter type character. He's killing gangsters. He's killing mobsters. He's killing people selling drugs to children. He's not killing people selling drugs to adults, but he's very focused on it. And it turns out to be, Jason Todd back from the dead, who was resurrected by Ra's al Ghul. Well, depending on what you read, he was either resurrected by Ra's al Ghul in the comics, but in Under the Red Hood, he was resurrected by Talia al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul's daughter.
Does it bother you to see breaks in the continuity between the comics, or are you just sort of like, that's just sort of the way it is? Like, there's different mediums are going to have different takes and different licenses on the lore. Like, it's not like the Torah where you can't veer from the lineage. You can take licenses. That doesn't bother you. You just sort of go with it.
I wish I was more objective, but there's a shitty Batman movie is going to get a nod. Like Brave and the Bold, I find the fun.
Batman and Robin.
Batman. I never really liked it.
Ice to See You.
But I will say, the Flaming Lips had a huge song in that, and at the time, it's like the Flaming Lips were a tiny band,
right? To get that big of an exposure.
A small band that I loved that got that big an exposure was great. It was also the first time that you saw Robin, although completely a shitty Robin, but it was the first time time of Robin. And I never liked it. I always had it like probably the least ranked Batman thing. But about 2 or 3 years ago, it came on Netflix, and my little guys at the time, 4 and 6, loved it. It was, it was for them. It was Batman 66. It was over the top characters. It was colorful.
Well, have they seen Attack of the Clones?
Are they
gonna? You know what I mean? Like,
so
when you're a kid.
Right. And so through there, and the same thing, I hate it, and I still don't love like Teen Titans Go, but
I love Teen Titans.
It gets them into it, right? You know what I mean? And it's like, and now they've kind of segued into, they still like that, but they've seen the Teen Titans and they like that more. But either way, but
getting back to the animated series.
So Under the Red Hood like really changed things as far as animated movies goes. It was really dark. It was great.
So I'm doing a little research here on my phone. Batman Under the Red Hood premiered 2010. Guess what it got on Rotten Tomatoes?
Honestly, without looking up, I'd be stunned if it's any less than an 85.
100%.
Yeah. And it is really good. I hate to do this. I have to go potty.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes I think I got to be completely biased. Again, having a son named after Nightwing and 2 Batman tattoos on me, but I'm not surprised because, like I said, it's an amazing movie, not an amazing Batman, not an amazing animated movie. And one of the things I like best about it, fuck giving a spoiler alert thing, it's been out for 7 years. It brings up the hardest questions ever. Point blank, he's called out by Jason Todd. It's like, why the fuck is the Joker still alive? Like, how can you let, after all the people he's killed, and after he killed me, because what had happened is the Joker had captured Jason Todd, beat him, and it's in the comic books, it's fucking brutal, and in the movie, it's fucking brutal. The Joker is beating a child with a crowbar nearly to death and leaves him tied up in a warehouse, and you think, okay, he's going to get out, Batman's going to come and save him. And just as he gets out of the handcuffs and he looks over and he notices, oh, there's a bomb. This whole place is rigged, and I got about 2 seconds. And he's like, oh, fuck. And, so he dies. And so here he gets resurrected by Ra's al Ghul in this, comes back. This is 10 years later. So he's had all that Batman training. Now he's been trained by basically, the League of Assassins, and he is a fucking badass. But when he confronts Batman, point blank, he's like, how do you still have that fucking rule? Like, everybody he's killed since then isn't on him. He has no control over this. This is what he does. This is who he is. You could have stopped this. The thousands of people, the graveyards that he's filled are on your hands, not on his. And after he fucking killed me, and then, Batman's like, you can't cross that line, yada, yada. He goes, I'm not asking you to kill, Two-Face, the Penguin, right, but why does this piece of shit still walk? And that's exactly what he says. Like, how does this piece of shit still walk? And it's like, at that point you're like,
finally
somebody's like
calling him out to the carpet.
And it's this, and it's ugly, it's dark, it's brutal, it's awesome. Nightwing's in it, and Nightwing is fucking awesome in it.
Nightwing being played by Neil Patrick Harris. I see on this computer.
So no, and he is really, really great. Like, Neil Patrick Harris also does the voice of the music meister in The Brave and the Bold. And I will say, if there's one good episode of Brave and the Bold, it's with Neil Patrick Harris.
I think there are 2. One with Neil Patrick Harris.
And what would the other one be, Joe?
The one with Weird Al Yankovic.
So the continuum has gone on, and it's been great. It's like Justice League War is great. Under the Red Hood is great. There's been a couple like hits and misses in there. You can skip the Green Lantern. Justice League Doom is good. That's based right on the comic books. I'll give you the 30-second synopsis of Doom. Batman is a paranoid fuck, and he understands more than anybody. It's like, the Justice League does a lot of great shit, but if they wanted to control the world, they could do it in about 15 minutes. They're mind controlled if they ever have, they wake up on the wrong side of the bed. So he has a contingency plan how to take each one of them out. those contingency plans are stolen by the bad guys who put them into play, and Batman instantly realizes, oh fuck,
I should have changed my password.
Right, exactly. Iron Man sucks. Might not be the best password. Second reference to Batman the Lego Movie, but he basically tells the team, this is what's going on, this is how, because not only does Batman have a plan to take each one of the Justice League down, he has a plan how to save the Justice League from being taken down. And it's great. At the end, they're all sitting around the table and they're pissed. It's like, I can't believe you have a plan to take us all out. And it's like, and he explains, you guys are the most powerful people on the earth. I'd be an idiot not to. And probably my favorite line in any of the movie is like Flash, like, well, how would you feel if we had a plan to take you out? And he looks at him and goes, you don't? Then you're idiots. and then he's like, well, they're basically devoting to throw him out of the Justice League or keep him in, which he never really wanted to join anyways. And they're like, well, as long as you promise I'm not going to do this again. He goes, I've already started. It's like, yes, my plan got corrupted, but it still doesn't mean it was a bad plan.
Right. So now I'm just looking through the different animated Batman movies since Under the Red Hood. Batman: The Dark Knight Returns.
The Batman: The Dark Knight Returns. That Miller, who has done The Dark Knight Returns and 300 and Watchmen. I mean, seriously, who comes up with that much great?
Right.
Like, honestly, that much great.
The Beatles of Batman.
The Beatles of
DC, whatever. Or comics.
Graphic novels.
Thank you. It's not a comics.
And so what's interesting is a lot of people hated, the people who didn't like Batman vs. Superman last year, if there was a problem from geeks like me, Dark Knight Returns is probably one of three quintessential Batman must-reads. And it came out in the 80s. Reagan is president, and it kind of reimagines an older Batman. Superheroes have been outlawed, and the only superhero allowed to function is Superman, who is a Boy Scout. He hasn't really aged, but Batman has. And this is the first comic where Batman kills Superman. It's a great scene where he has Superman about to die, and he's like, in your quiet moments of reflection, I want you to remember the one hand on your throat that controlled your life. And it's great. And then fakes a heart attack. They jammed that storyline in the single quintessential Superman storyline of Doomsday, where he gets, he dies in the comics of the 90s. They took both of those and jammed them into one movie. And at the same time, they're like, oh, fuck, the Avengers are on movie 3 and we have a jump start at the Justice League. Let's put Wonder Woman in this. Yeah. Was fine with me. But are you going to ask me what Rotten Tomatoes had for that?
Batman: The Dark Knight Returns.
I'm going to guess.
This is part 1, by the way.
Yeah. Part 1. Again, I'll say 80.
100%.
Really
great. I don't know if maybe it's the same 5 reviewers.
There got to be more than 5 reviews for that, but it was.
I don't know. I can't really.
Yeah, no, but again, that's when you think of Frank Miller, it's The Dark Knight Returns, it's Watchmen, and it is 300.
What of Son of Batman?
So interesting you bring up Son of Batman. That would be the 4th. Now there was a couple other Robins that made cameo appearances here and there that filled in for Robin when he was on vacation or doing other things. But the 4th real Robin is Batman's son, Damian Wayne. Here's a fun fact about Damian Wayne. He was unbeknownst to Batman until he was 10 years old. Batman was drugged and raped by Talia al Ghul in the comics. Whoa. And unbeknownst to him, had an heir. And that was part of Ra's al Ghul's plan, because forever Ra's al Ghul has more respect for Batman than anybody on the planet. And he doesn't call him Batman or Bruce. He refers to him as detective. He admires his fighting skills, because in the comics, unlike in Batman Begins with Christopher Bale in the Nolan movies. Christian Bale, sorry. Ra's al Ghul was one of many, but probably the most person that Batman had learned from his years.
He had a certain set of skills. I'm confused.
No, I like that. but in the comics, like, no, they had never crossed paths, except as foe and rivals and stuff like that. But Ra's al Ghul really respects and thinks, okay, it's my turn to pass the gauntlet over. And that's also bled into Arkham City, the second in the Arkham video games. But yeah, he basically figures out, okay, if Batman won't become my heir, well, I'll have an heir of his. And so Talia al Ghul drugs Batman, rapes him, and then ends up showing up with him at like when he's about 9-10 years old after 10 years of League of Assassin training from birth, and like, here's your son. And there's a really funny scene where he meets Batman. Batman's out. Damian sneaks out and he's going after his grandfather's killer and the son of Batman, and crosses paths with Nightwing, and Nightwing basically stops him, and they get into a huge street fight in which Nightwing ends up winning, but got cut pretty good from Damian Wayne. And as he's getting sewn up by Alfred, he's like, and all those lectures about protection that Bruce gave me. But that is pretty good. I'm a real, but that was part of the continuum where it goes, son of Batman.
What about Arkham, Assault on Arkham? Or is that a side thing?
Batman, it's like Suicide Squad. Okay. It is Suicide Squad where they have to, Amanda Waller captures Deadshot and Harley, and they send them into Arkham. If anybody has played the Arkham video game, the first one,
I have,
Arkham Asylum, it is awesome because the same map and layout in the movie is all in the game.
So it was kind of like a joint effort.
Right. I mean, it came out 2 years after the game, but as they're going from point A to point B in Arkham, this room leads to this room. Wow. Oh, this quad leads over here. It really was fun.
Synergy.
Yeah, I'm big fan of that one. Big fan of that one.
Batman Year One was 2011,
and that was one of those reimagine. Basically, every year in the comics they do a year one where they go back and tell an origin, like a first year of Batman on the case, like him meeting Commissioner Gordon, XYZ,
like a reboot kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, Batman vs. Robin 2015.
That was pretty dark. Where basically it's like, you're not my real dad. Damian is really a prick. He is absolutely an over-the-top, arrogant, unlikable prick, and a secret organization in Gotham uses that to their advantage to basically pit him against Bruce Wayne or Batman, so to speak. But it's great. I mean, over the last few years, Damian is now part of the Teen Titans. And even in that, he's kind of part of the Teen Titans, but he's an outsider because he's, again, a real prick.
Looking at other titles, we have the Justice League movies. I don't know if maybe we don't want to dip into the Justice League movies.
Yeah, with the Justice League movies, Justice League,
Doom, War.
Doom. War relaunched this. War was the starting point all over again.
So Justice League Doom 2012,
and that's the one where Batman's plans got corrupted to take out the Justice League.
Yep. See, I need Bat resplaining because sometimes I doze on.
Then they go, then you had Justice League versus Teen Titans, which was really, and it was one of those things where Nightwing was a crucial he's not part of the Teen Titans anymore. He's moved kind of on from them, and he's not part of the Justice League, so he's kind of in between. He works a lot with Batman. He still helps the Teen Titans a lot, and he was really great. Him and Starfire are a thing in this, and I will sidebar.
Please.
If Batman on a fighting scale is a 10, Nightwing's an 8.5, 9. If Batman is a 10 on the detective scale, Nightwing is an 8.5, 9. If billionaire Bruce Wayne goes on dates with really attractive women to keep the facade up of the billionaire playboy, if that's just a mask, Nightwing bangs everybody.
Right.
He's
the John Mayer of superheroes.
He really is. And I mean, from Batgirl, then Oracle, same person, in the different carnations of it, in the early years, it was Wonder Girl and him in the early Teen Titans comics, but also in this, holds true to like the 80s ish, early 90s Teen Titans comics, where him and Starfire, who is, not hard on the eyes, ladies. I don't know what the fuck that was.
But okay, did he ever go Harley?
Well, how far ahead are we jumping?
Oh, sorry. Wait. Okay, let's stick with the chronological.
But
order.
yeah, so that's what I've always said. I mean, he's not a brooding, unhappy dick. He, no pun intended on his name. I just realized he's not a brooding, awful, always angry person. He's a decent guy. He's funny. He's a fun guy to be around. People like him.
Yep. So Justice League versus Teen Titans is 2016. So that's pretty recent.
Yep.
We have Gods and Monsters, which is 2015.
That's one of those the
filler kind of.
Yeah, DC has it's let's introduce a couple B-list-ish characters, but there's a show Constantine, so he's a big part of this and stuff like that. So. But it's not kind of in this continuum.
Throne of Atlantis.
Oh, no, Monsters.
Whoop. Gods and
Sorry,
Monsters.
that is a reimagined thing. That's where, it's a reimagined world where, Batman is really dark and Batman is actually a Batman, so to speak, where,
he was bitten by a radioactive bat.
Basically, like somebody like, he was a scientist that somebody effed with him type thing. But yeah, that was pretty good. But yeah, it's not in the continuum.
Right. Throne of Atlantis.
Again, that's one of those, we're introducing Aquaman in the upcoming Justice League movie, so we should kind of reintroduce his origin story to everybody and give him his own story. They did the same thing with Wonder Woman a couple years before the movie came out, just, to kind of introduce her backstory a little bit more. Killing Joke.
Well, now we get to the Killing Joke.
Okay, yeah. The Killing Joke.
Boo! I don't know.
The Killing Joke is I'm going to say it's in along with, The Dark Knight Returns. It's a top 3 as far as graphic novels go.
Right.
It's a must read. It's an absolute must read. Not an absolute must read Batman. It is one of the quintessential graphic novels. So they finally, I think it's in that story. Spoiler alert, it's 25, 30 years old. That is when the Joker does not know Barbara Gordon is Batgirl. He knows Barbara Gordon is the daughter of Police Commissioner Gordon. And he knows Batman and Gordon have a great relationship. So he knocks on the door one day, she opens it up, and he shoots her in the spine. So shoots
her in the stomach and it hits her spine.
It hits her in the spine, yeah. And so he doesn't intend to kill her, but doesn't care if she lives or dies, but basically wants, Gordon to suffer. And by Gordon suffering, Batman suffers, having no idea that he shot Batgirl.
Yep.
Then she goes on to become Oracle. She's even fucking more amazing as Oracle. But the graphic novel is so fucking dark and so awesome.
And it gets into the backstory of the Joker.
And the backstory of the Joker. And it ends. The end of it is great. Like, in custody, the Joker tells Batman this joke. And I don't like how it ends, but it's kind of interesting. Batman tells Joker about 2 guys who escaped from an insane asylum. And one guy jumps from one building to the other. And the other guy is afraid that he won't make the jump. So the guy who made the jump says, I'll tell you what, I'll turn on my flashlight and you can walk across the beam and meet me over here. And the first guy says, what do you think, I'm crazy? I'll get halfway across and you'll turn the light off. So they do this movie and they decide, this would be a great half-hour, great 25-minute, half-hour, maybe 40-minute movie. But to sell it as a full movie, we're going to reimagine a story in which Batgirl is in love with Batman and is doing all this to win his affection, and he keeps pushing her away, and finally he bangs her, and then that's when, after this, she gets shot by him. So they, instead of playing up to fuck with Commissioner Gordon and to fuck with Batman to hurt somebody they love type thing, that they were going to, make it a love story between, killed it. It was
From what I
awful.
understand, I did see the Killing Joke movie, because I heard about it tangentially like that. Oh yeah, this is supposed to be, this is going to be. It was highly anticipated because of the graphic novel, and then when it was released, it was almost universally panned by hardcore Batman fans because specifically of the love scene and the love interest, the love relationship, because Barbara Gordon had always been sort of like a daughter to the father figure of Batman, and now they had to sex her up. And
if she hooked up with anybody, it was always, Dick Grayson.
Right.
I mean, there was always a thing. And then in the video game, the last incarnation of the video game, her and Tim Drake are a thing.
So fans saw that scene as sort of gratuitous, cheap, and it really, Barbara Gordon didn't get fucked enough,
right,
by the Joker. Let's literally have her get fucked, and want to, and basically almost, force herself upon.
Completely threw her, and then it became cheesy because afterwards Batman is that wants nothing to do with this thing, right? Well, he wants to keep fighting crime. He's not getting caught up in this, and at the same time, he's like, I can't be emotionally attached to you. I have to be in the field worrying about this. I can't be in the field worrying about my girlfriend.
All right, I guess we'll keep the pattern going. What do you think it got on Rotten Tomatoes?
I think if it was just the second half where it picks up from Arkham Asylum, it would have got another 100. I'm going to guess it got a 45.
44.
Wow.
Oh, you didn't win the showcase because you went over.
If I said 43.
Price is Right rules, you lost.
$1.
Right, $1, Bob. Oh, yeah, 44% on Rotten Tomatoes. But yeah, so I guess.
Just fast forward until where the Killing Joke actually picks up.
Right, the first half hour, trash.
And then after that.
So now the piece de resistance.
So Batman and Harley Quinn, it is nothing to do with the continuum. It is absolutely, it's more of a animated series. It's dark, but it's not nearly as dark as like the Judas Contract or War or these other ones. It is very, very campy. It is one of these team ups where the only way to get this criminal is with a criminal type thing. So they get Harley Quinn, who they don't explain why is released and back into the public, and it's very, very funny. She is working in a restaurant, a superhero villain.
Working in a restaurant.
Cocktail bar when I met you. I hate you. Because now that song is in my head. I can't even focus.
And in our audiences.
So she
was working in a restaurant.
So but it's all the waitresses. It's kind of like a Hooters, but all the waitresses are dressed like superhero or supervillains.
Oh my God! Would you ever? You would love that.
I would never leave that restaurant.
I think that's Valhalla for you. That's
exactly. Am I
Avalon.
dead?
Yeah.
I want to be. But she is. Guess who she is in the restaurant?
I don't know.
She's Harley Quinn.
Oh, thank you.
She's literally hiding in plain sight. Like they're trying to track her down and they can't, and none of the local criminals and no one has seen her because allegedly she went legit. I was gonna say straight, but hey, her and Pamela Ivy. Anyways, but yes, to answer your question, Nightwing bangs her.
Oh yay!
I'm sorry. She bangs Nightwing.
Oh, great.
Who is literally in a position to not say no, so to speak.
Wow.
But
empowering.
Yes, but it's one of those things where it's like just before she's like, are you okay with, like, they threw the politically correct thing in there.
So he signed the verbal contract.
Right. Well, I mean, it's a very, very funny scene where, she gets a jump on him. He wakes up and he's literally tied to the bed and she's changing and he finds this interesting, let's say, and she notices. He finds it interesting and she's like, oh, it's been a while. And honestly, it's like, he doesn't have a choice till he does. It's very, very funny. And then, later, like, Batman who's trying to track him can't. Yeah. And then, because Batman's kind of a dick and like has a tracer on everybody, like keep your friends close, and you're, kind of walks in on them getting dressed afterwards, and it's like kind of like your dad walking in on you. Very, very funny. Over the top campy. There is a great scene where Harley Quinn, they're trying to find out where Poison Ivy is, and she's like, oh, I know this out of the way place, and it's your old movie, 20 miles off a dirt road bar where all the bad guys kind of hang out in costume.
The biker bar kind of place.
It is exactly that. They squeezed in every foe from the Batman 66 show, all the henchmen, and they're wearing their henchman outfits. And as it pans across the room, if you're a complete loser like myself, you're like, oh, that's Egghead's bad guys. Oh, that King Tut's bad guys. You see all the bad guys.
At what point did the usher come in and say, quiet down, sir?
Yeah, I embarrassed my children. What was really funny is, of course, there's a big bar fight that breaks out, and to maybe save time, maybe save money on the animation, it cuts to the outside of the bar where you hear like furniture breaking and like the screen shakes like a little bit, and it does the old Batman 66 where it says, pow, punch in the face. And then my favorite one is, ow, my nuts. Just big blue, ow, my nuts. And
I can't wait for that to be a screen grab or a meme or something.
Honestly, like management and I just absolutely start howling, and then like the boys took like a half second extra to read it, because they're younger and they're fucking dumb
and illiterate. Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, just because my kids can't read doesn't make them illiterate. What? So it was really great. It was fun. It was campy. It was definitely worth seeing on the big screen. It was one of those one night only.
Right.
And it's ladies' night.
Yeah, come one, come all.
And I think I did a couple of times, but it was, it has nothing to do with the new continuum. Do not go into Batman Harley Quinn thinking it's part of the continuum, but it's Harley Quinn, and she's great, and it's funny, and you can't say hot about an animated thing without sounding completely creepy.
Sure you can. Little Mermaid. Come on, let's go, man.
Hello.
Where do you want to go? That's a whole other sideshow. God damn it. We're just coming up with
that's a therapy session,
shut up.
which we can do as a podcast. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun. It's definitely a fun. It's completely campy. It's Batman the Animated Series revisited with a little Batman 66 thrown in there. It's not Arlene Sorkin, but it's still she's great.
It's Melissa Rauch. But we haven't even touched upon the two Adam West Batman animated movies.
Let's do when that comes out, because our first sideshow was Adam West. Let's watch those back to back and give those a review when those come out, because it's great when Don Rickles died. Like, Joe found a tweet from a comedian saying, it's great. He died with dates on the books, and it's fantastic that like Adam West had new material.
Yes,
like upon doing the Dirt Nap, he still had, and not new material, new Batman material.
Yeah, he would have probably done a third Batman movie had the you're right. And what's great about this new Batman movie is that William Shatner plays Two-Face.
Right, exactly. I mean, those guys, the thing that they had in common is, like, I think at one point in their careers, Shatner and Moore, they both took themselves way too serious. But the last 20 years of their career, they're like, we're still fucking getting paychecks.
Right. Oh, my God. I can make lots of money off of this stuff.
Making fun of being a campy actor. So,
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, we'll do a whole show with that.
So that was Batsplaining by Jacques.
Part one.
We're
going to do many Weird Al shows. We're going to do we're going to do many Weird Al shows and many Batman shows.
But I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about the animated side of Batman as much as I did.
Any questions or corrections, don't be afraid to tweet at us.
Right, at Carnival Podcast on Twitter. And then you can like us on Facebook at Carnival Personnel. Yeah. Any parting words that you want to say, in Batman form, or I don't know. No. And then also, Jacques, don't forget,